Hi, Dash. Are you there?
Hi, Alyssa and Taylor. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are
Good.
you?
I am doing well. I have to warn you, I have a lot of anxiety over the topic that I'm bringing, and it causes some nausea and stuff. So if I drop, I apologize. It's just my body just reacts in a really, can be kind of a violent and scary way. Um, but hi, should I just get into my topic?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, if you start to feel nervous, big deep breaths do a lot for your nervous system. So just like we'll do a make a word that actually honestly made me feel better and I feel fine. So well, is anyone ever fine? Anyway, you're
No.
going to be so great and also I know that it's scary for you to articulate the things that feel scary to articulate. I promise you, I already know because I read like a little bit of the prompt. What you're asking is so normal and so fine. And there's going to be people listening who are going to be really relieved that you're asking because you're asking a question that many people have. Now I've like really built up to the question. So please, Dash, explain.
No pressure at all, right?
I know. I think I made it worse. I was trying to make it better.
No. You're doing great. So, thank you so much. I appreciate the tips on the breathing, and I will definitely take advantage of that. But just to get into it, so I am like basically like gray ace. I am very strong demi. So for me, it's really hard to build like an attraction to somebody. Like I can find people attractive, but building attraction, particularly related to sex, is really challenging for me. Um, and I take really good care of myself. Like I'm in incredible shape. I'm not a bad looking human. I get approached all the time in public. I'm very outgoing, very personable. I love humans. So I don't know how much context that's going to bring to this or anything, but I just wanted to like get that out there in terms of meeting people and having
Mm-hmm.
conversations. But so I started seeing my girlfriend about 6 months ago or so, and my girlfriend is poly, and this is the first non-monogamous relationship I've ever been in before. And just to be clear, I'm very left-leaning. I'm very sex positive. I think as long as you're both consenting adults and nobody's getting harmed in the process, you can do whatever you want. I have no problems with that. I have no problems with the poly lifestyle, E&M, all that good stuff. Um, Having said that, she is also very kinky, which is, I'm a fairly vanilla person. Um, so we have had a lot of discussions about kind of her past and things, and it's nothing that's been upsetting or offensive to me. I'm proud of everything that she's done and been through, and I respect it all, and I'd never, judge her or anything or take anything away from that. Um, she is pan, and so when, or excuse me, before we started dating, she used to go to play parties, and we've talked about these in the past, and so I have a fairly firm grasp of what's involved with them, kind of what they're all about, roughly what the people are like at these parties here. And she very much wants me to attend one of them with her. Um, this is this causes a lot of panic with me. I've had panic attacks over these conversations. I don't think um, any consent is going to be violated there. They seem like they're all like just a really lovely group of folks, and my girlfriend very much is one of her kinks is exhibitionism, but consensual. So she won't do anything in public without every person who has view of it without their express consent to be seeing whatever they may be seeing. Um, so this is like a really big thing for her, and being her partner, one of her primary partners, she is married. She has a wife. It's just a polyromantic relationship that they have. It's not a sexual relationship at all. Her wife also has a boyfriend. They all live together, the three of them. And my girlfriend also has another partner who is essentially like a purely sexual relationship with that person as well. But getting kind of back on track a little bit, I am uncomfortable with the thought of like these play parties, but I very much want to be there to fulfill her desires. And I've told her, I'm like, if if this is something you want to do, please by all means, like go and do these. I don't want to stop you from doing whatever it is you find joy in or you find satisfaction in. Like, I don't want to be that person to you. I want to support you in everything that you want. But she doesn't want to attend them without me. So it's kind of come to a point where I'm struggling with how to proceed. I want to support her. I want to fulfill what she's requesting, but I also want to feel comfortable doing that. And she very much recognizes that. She is consent is everything to her, and it is to me as well. So it's very important for her that I feel comfortable in whatever we do or whatever we have done or may do. And we have started exploring some of those kinks that I was uncomfortable with, but we've worked through them and processed them, and we've engaged in them in safe and consensual terms. And it's, some have been great, some have been not so great, but it's all a learning experience. But this one is one that I'm really struggling with, and I was just looking for advice or anything on this particular subject.
I love this conversation because I think it's important. And because you have like a really unique situation in that there's like a lot of people in the mix. Also being demisexual changes your perception of sexuality. And we have a lot of demisexual folks in the chat too, and they were excited to hear another person that they can identify with have this kind of conversation. So I told you people would want to hear this. But the biggest thing is, okay, actually, my first question is, would you be comfortable going to a play party where you're only observing? Or is that also kind of like not comfy, not feeling it?
I feel like I'd be very uncomfortable in that situation.
Okay. So I'm thinking that this is just not for you. And I think if you push yourself to go, there's a chance that you end up being sort of resentful. There's a chance that you end up having an experience that feels traumatizing to you. Like that is just not there's also there's an interesting thing, and this might feel unrelated at first, but I promise it is related. There's an interesting thing that our brains do when we prove to ourselves that we can accomplish the things that we set out to do. We start to like build what ends up being our integrity. It ends up being like the mechanism that creates good habits. And so when we decide I'm going to start a fitness journey, but I'm going to do walking every day. I'm going to get my 10,000 steps every day. And you do that every single day for an extended period of time, you start to prove to yourself and create this like positive feedback loop to yourself that, okay, I'm capable of doing hard things. And I did a hard thing that was out of my comfort zone once, and I can do it again and again and again. The inverse of that is if you're feeling like this is not something that you are comfortable with, beyond it being something that is like, if you should never do things that you don't want to do. And if it's making you uncomfortable, then that's your sign that it's not for you. But you also don't want to start this negative feedback loop in your head, which is telling yourself, telling your brain, telling your body that even if this is something that my body is signaling to me that I don't want to do, I might force myself to do it for somebody else. Like, even though everything in my body, like my physiological reaction is absolutely the fuck not. Doing those things creates like a weird pattern in your head, and you sort of like chip away at this positive feedback loop and the integrity that you've built up to this point. And so it's important that you stick to the things that you are comfortable with, and also stick to your guns with the things that you're not. I assume your partner knew that you were demisexual before you started dating. So I think that the conversation that you get to have is, I appreciate so much that you want me involved, and you know where my sexuality lies. And I'm just really not comfortable with this. I would love if you went with a different partner. I would love if like we could find an alternative. Like, what's an alternative that where we can meet in the middle where you don't feel uncomfortable? Because the other thing too is like, if this partner really cares about you, surely they will care that you're uncomfortable. They should be able to also take a step back and be like, okay, well, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Like, if it's really going to create this for you, then like, I don't want to do that. And it might be a situation where the conversation is like, okay, well, maybe then we aren't a good fit for each other. And that's okay. But the biggest priority has to be your emotional, mental safety. Enthusiastic consent is really important. And it feels like, regardless, it's not, enthusiastic consent is not going to be something that's achievable for you, which is totally okay.
Yeah, and to kind of respond to a couple of your points, which I agree with all of what you said. I have brought this up as well. Like, she's brought it up in the past, and I was like, when I feel comfortable, I'll bring up these conversations. So I've actually brought them up in the past because I feel almost like it's an obstacle to overcome, because I do want to meet what her needs are when she's requesting certain needs, and I'm like, well, this is something. First of all, I agree with all this. Again, very sex positive. So I totally agree with all of it. And when we have conversations when I'm feeling overwhelmed or like it's too much, I'm like, I will say, I'm overwhelmed, and the conversation completely disappears. In terms of her support for me, it is 100%. I do have the chat up, and I saw some things about how my partner shouldn't be pushing me, and to be absolutely clear, she has never pushed me to do anything. She said, if you never get there, in one of our conversations, if you never get there, that is perfectly okay, and it will not change how I feel about you one bit. And she's very much sincere about that, and I very much believe her. She's honestly one of the best people I've ever met, and this has been one of the best relationships I've ever been in, and that's why I want so much to be able to provide to her what she desires and what she wants. And I know she has these requests, but I also know there's absolutely nothing that there's no sort of pressure of, if you don't do this, it's going to change my opinion of you, or it's going to change the dynamic of this relationship. Not at all. She's like, I understand there's some things you're just not comfortable with, and that's fine, and that's you, and I don't want to change who you are. I want to support the person you are, but I also want you to know what some of my desires and some of my needs are. And she said, if some of these never get met, if this never ever becomes a thing for the rest of her life, and we're together for the rest of her life, and we never attend one of these ever, she said, I would be 100% fine with that. And I legitimately believe her on that. She's a very honest and forthright person, so I absolutely believe that. But I do care about her so deeply, and to me, it's really important to try and meet as much of her wants and her needs as possible. I think one of the great things about the poly lifestyle, which I'm coming to learn, is that I can't fulfill everything she wants. I know I can't. I'm a single person, and I'm multifaceted. She doesn't fulfill all of my desires, and vice versa. We never will. There's just so much to humans. So I understand that there's other ways to fulfill that, and I don't take offense to that as long as it doesn't take away from the quality of our relationship. But again, in that same vein, I would love to be able to fulfill as much of her desires as possible. So yeah, it's really important to me, but it's also something where I recognize if I can't get there, I just can't get there. I'm just wondering, like, is there a way for somebody that's demi and again is like gray ace to overcome this fear or hesitancy surrounding um surrounding sex? Like, I
The
just
only
don't know
thing
if
I
there's a
can
way to get past it.
the only thing I can think of is, which also I'm so happy that your partner is like, if this is not in the cards for you, it's okay. That's amazing. Um, the only thing I can think of is finding ways to sort of like desensitize yourself to what those experiences are, especially if you're just going to be watching. So if that's something you want to try, you can watch like different kinds of porn and see. I think I'm back. I think I froze for a second, but I'm back. Okay. Um, you can watch different kinds of porn and see if it's almost kind of like exposure therapy a little bit, and see if watching it helps neutralize what that experience is going to be. And it doesn't feel so fearful because you're getting some sort of exposure. The only thing is, if you're watching porn and you're on a place that's like free, like Pornhub, it's not always very like kind and ethical. So if you have the means to do so, I would recommend going on a place like Cheeks. See, it's Get Cheeks is get and then CHEEX.com. And they make ethical porn, which means everybody was paid appropriately, everyone's contracted, they know where this content is going, and they also have like diverse bodies, diverse gender expressions. It's like, I started using Cheeks like 3 years ago and have literally never gone back to anything else. But so I would recommend maybe giving that a try. And also, one of the biggest inhibitors to feeling aroused, and the physiological arousal system, is cortisol. So if you're feeling stress every time you're having this conversation, there is no way that arousal could potentially ever start. And sometimes the thing that creates the stress is the anticipation of the conversation and the anticipation of the proposal, the anticipation of you having to say the no. Like, that alone can create a lot of pressure that is like gonna take you totally out of the game. So it might even be helpful to tell your partner and say, I think this is off the table for me now, but I'm going to do a little exposure therapy. I'm going to like watch some of these play parties, and maybe in like a month, let's revisit this conversation, or 2 months or whatever, and see if that helps take the pressure off of you so that you're not feeling like this conversation is like clouding everything else about your relationship.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We've actually talked about ethical porn and all that stuff too. That, like, she will not watch any of the like the Pornhub stuff or whatever because of those concerns. So totally right there with you. But one of the other things, I'll just add this as well for extra context. She said that they do have like outings, like just all of the folks within these parties, because it's, a lot of the same recurring people, where they'll have outings and they'll go bowling, or they'll go watch a movie together, or they'll go out to dinner together. And it's absolutely not like sexual in any means. It's just a bunch of, a friend group going out and just getting to know each other and making friends with each other and getting comfortable with each other. And she was like, we could go do this if you'd like, to just like, let's go do like a bowling party if that would interest you. And even those conversations can cause like a panic attack for me. So I'm like, even just meeting them, even in like a completely public place, just as like as a normal group of folks or whatever, is still like, it causes a lot of anxiety for me. And that's why I'm really nervous about, like, can I make it to that point? And I don't know if I can. And again, I'm not saying it's something I have to, or something that if I don't do it, it's going to change our dynamic. It's not. But it comes down to purely like, I want her to be happy and I want her to be fulfilled. And I'd love to be the person to meet those things that make her feel that way.
Dash, I just wanted to say that, and I feel like it's so great that you want to, make her as happy as possible or fulfilled as possible. But I feel, and I know this isn't the same, but I feel like there are a lot of things that maybe my husband would love for me to be involved in that I'm not. Like, I either don't have any interest in it at all, or I don't feel like it's something I can do, or whatever it might be. And I feel like that's where other relationships come into play, like what you're saying, where even in like a monogamous relationship, it's important to have friends and other people you can do stuff with, because your partner can't fulfill every single one of those things. So there's plenty of things that he does that I'm sure we could bond over, but I have also my own things that I want to invest my time and energy in, and that make me who I am. And those things make him who he is. And then sometimes we meet in the middle and find stuff we have in common. Sometimes we try new stuff together that we both enjoy. So I just wouldn't feel bad about that, because I think that happens in like every relationship. And I know yours is specific to something like sexual, but yeah, I don't know. I think you're trying to be a really good partner, but I just wouldn't put so much pressure on yourself, and allow your partner to get support from other people around her, or like, do those things with other people, so that way you're not carrying so much yourself.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
And if you ever want to go to those times where they're going to the movies or to dinner, the movies is probably even better because you're not really even talking to anybody. Um, I think before you even commit to something like that, you have to tell your girlfriend, going to the actual parties is off the table for me right now. Not forever, but just for right now. Maybe that will help relieve some of the pressure, because I would imagine you going to those things, it's like if you go to those events, and when if and when somebody asks you, "Oh, do you think you're going to join us for one of like the play parties?" For you to be able to be like, "No, not right now, but I love that you guys do this and I'm down to like hang out, go to movies, whatever." That like firm response can just like put a little cap on it. And then like the pressure kind of comes off because you're just going to hang out with new friends.
yeah. I want to get past that. I don't see anything wrong with hanging out with these folks at all. Like, I don't see anything wrong with their lifestyle. I think it's great that they're um, they operate in such a consensual manner. Like, I think it's great and I support it. I wish I was that way. I sincerely do. And it sucks that, like, I just know my brain doesn't function that way, and I'm hoping that someday, some way I could possibly get there. But I appreciate all the advice and everything. Like, I don't want to keep the call for too long, but y'all are both amazing, and thank you both so much.
Thanks for calling, Dash. And also, this I had a therapist tell me this once, and it like is weirdly helpful to me. Anxiety doesn't follow logic. So like you can intellectualize the anxiety as much as you want, but sometimes anxiety is just anxiety, and like it's your brain telling you that you're just like not comfortable with whatever it is right now. So like set your boundaries. Like Taylor said, this just might be something that your partner gets to do with somebody else. Um but yeah, and listen back to the call because I feel like we had like so many different little suggestions that might be helpful, and take the things that land and leave the things that don't. And call back and let us know how this evolves if you want to.
I will. Thank you so much. I hope you both have a lovely evening.
Have a
Thanks,
good night.
Dash. this is your reminder to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I will continue to post clips like this from the wonderful shows that I get to do on the line, but there will also be some other fun content that will be on this channel at some point. So it means a lot to me for you to be here and to watch this video on this channel, but please make sure that you are also watching the full show and our clips and all of the other wonderful shows that we have on the Line's YouTube channel. It will be linked in the description below. If you are in the mood to, anger your weird uncle that you see only on holidays or random people in the mall, you can also check out my merch, which will be linked in my shop, which should be below or somewhere on my profile. If you love the work that we do at The Line, please go to patreon.com/calltheline and you can become one of our wonderful patrons. We love them so much, and we get to make bonus content together and have some other really fun perks. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate it more than you know, and I'll see you in the next one.